All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're going to tackle a topic that is a total game changer for your OCR J277 GCSE computer science exam: subprograms. If you can master this, you're not just writing cleaner code, you're well on your way to absolutely acing Paper 2.
So let's be real for a second. Have you ever written a program that just seems to get longer and longer? You find yourself copying and pasting the same chunk of code over and over, and then of course a bug pops up. Now you're hunting it down in like 5 different places. It's messy, it's frustrating, and it's just a slow way to work.
And this is where the real headache begins. When you've got all that repeated code, even a tiny change means you have to find and edit every single copy. And it's so easy to miss one, right? That leads to bugs and a program you just can't rely on, which is exactly the kind of thing the examiners want you to avoid.
So what's the solution? Well, say hello to the sub-program. The OCR syllabus, especially in section 2.2.3, really emphasizes using subprograms to write code that's structured and easy to maintain. And this isn't just some clever trick for your exam. It's a fundamental skill for any programmer out there.
So, what on earth is a subprogram? Honestly, think of it like a mini program that lives inside your main program. You give it a name, you tell it what specific job to do, and then, whenever you need that job done, you just call its name. You write the code once, and you can use it 100 times if you want. It's that simple, and it keeps everything so much cleaner and more efficient.
Now, you've got to know that there are 2 main types of subprograms for your exam: procedures and functions. They might look kind of similar at first glance, but there is one huge difference between them, and you absolutely have to understand what it is.
And here it is, the key difference. A procedure does something, like it prints a message to the screen, or it makes a character jump in a game. But a function is different. Its job is to figure something out, to do a calculation, and then return a single value back to the code that called it. That phrase, must return a value, that's everything. If a subprogram gives a value back, it's a function. If it doesn't, it's a procedure. It's as simple as that.
Okay, let's zoom in on procedures for a minute. These are your action takers. They're designed to carry out a specific task without sending any information back. When you see the OCR exam reference language, you'll spot them because they're defined using the keywords procedure and end procedure.
Here's a perfect example, straight out of the spec. This procedure age pass has one very simple job: print the message "you are old enough." It follows a command, but notice what's missing. There's no return keyword. It doesn't send any data back to the main program, it just performs an action, and it's done.
Now let's flip over to functions. Their whole purpose in life is to take some information, process it, and then return a single result. The key thing you'll be looking for in the exam is the function keyword, and more importantly, that return keyword, which usually shows up right before end function.
Let's look at this example. The squared function takes a number as its input, it calculates the square of that number, and then, this is the most important part, it uses the return keyword to send that calculated value back. Now, the part of the program that called the function can grab that result and actually do something with it.
Okay, that's all great, but how do we actually get data into our subprograms? I mean, a squared function is pretty useless if we can't tell it which number to square, right? Well, this is where parameters come into play. So, when we first define a function, that variable you see inside the brackets, in this case, number, that's called a parameter. The easiest way to think of it is as a placeholder, or maybe like an empty box that's just waiting for a value to be put inside it. The function knows that whatever data it gets, it's going to be stored in this number variable.
Then, when we actually call the function in our code, the real value we put inside the brackets, like the number 4 here, is called the argument. So the argument 4 gets passed to the function and stored in the number parameter. To make it super simple, the parameter is the empty box, and the argument is the actual thing you put inside it.
All right, so we know how to pass data into subprograms. But what about the variables themselves? Where can they be accessed from? This leads us to a super important concept: variable scope. And you really need to get your head around the difference between local and global variables, because it's a very common topic in the exam, especially for tracing code.
A local variable is basically a secret. It's declared inside a subprogram, and it can only be used there. It gets created when the function starts, and it's destroyed when it ends. This makes it really safe to use. A global variable, on the other hand, is declared outside of any subprogram, so it can be accessed from anywhere. Now, that might sound useful, but it's actually pretty risky. Another part of your program could accidentally change its value, and that can lead to bugs that are an absolute nightmare to track down. Exam questions love to test this, so knowing this difference is key to not falling into that trap.
Okay, so we've covered all the theory. But how do you actually apply this stuff when you're under pressure in paper 2? What you need is a clear, repeatable strategy for breaking down any question that involves subprograms in that OCR exam reference language.
And here it is, a 4-step strategy you can use every single time. First, identify. Is it a function or a procedure? Just look for that return keyword. Second, inputs. Check the brackets. What parameters is it expecting? Third, process. Trace the code line by line to figure out exactly what it's doing. And finally, output. What's the end result? What's it print, or what value does it return? If you follow these 4 steps, you'll be in a great position to answer correctly.
Seriously, if you only take one thing away from this explainer, let it be this. The return keyword is the ultimate clue. Whether it's there or not tells you if you're looking at a function or a procedure. And that right there is the key to unlocking the entire question.
And that's a wrap on our explainer. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. How are you going to use subprograms to write better, cleaner, more efficient code? Don't just think of them as an exam topic. See them as a powerful tool that will make you a much better programmer. Thanks for joining me.